you're on Cerner Millennium, I'm assuming. And if this looks different or if we're on a different code level, just stop me and ask a question. And so, okay, so here we go. So I'm going to just open my queue, my sign out queue, and I have a consult case going here, which does not need a synoptic at this point, but I'm going to use it for my to show the. And then, can you guys hear me? Okay, too. My phone is on my wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I hear
great.
you fine. That's good.
My phone just moved. I hadn't done a conference call since I moved it up to my wall. Okay. At any rate, so this is the routine diagnostic field. You know, we've called our comment session, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm assuming this looks fairly similar to your workflow in PathNet. And just so I know, have you guys used the prior Cerner Synoptic tool?
No. I mean,
Okay.
I've seen it demonstrated, but we didn't implement it.
Okay. So we were using that for a little while when I first came back here in 2013. And I think the support for that has retired since eForm became an option. At any rate, so the Synoptic button is right here. And basically, we have tied specific templates to specific specimen types. And you know, at the time of accessioning, you may have like a colon for resection or whatever you have as far as your menu, the way you've named your specimen, and you can pre-assign available templates. And over time, we've added more and more to various specimens to make sure that we have them all available. But the way Cerner Millennium set up behind the scenes, you have to assign them ahead of time. So at any rate, so for our consult cases, I'm opening a consult case because we have everything listed there, because you can get any kind of case. And even though consults are not required to report synoptically by CAP, we like to do them just to collect the data and to standardize things. So this is the interface. We're still in Cerner PathNet. When I hit the Synoptic button, I'm going to add a template. So if there are multiple specimen parts, I'm going to choose which specimen part to associate the template with. Template worksheet are synonymous. So I can choose any of these. And I think today I'm going to choose the thyroid. I'm pretty used to using thyroid.
Are these user defined, or is that comes with the software?
So the names of the templates are derived from the CAP ECCs. So those we don't change the names. Depending on how much customization you get into, you might make your own. But yeah, these are all out of the box from CAP. Is that what you mean, the names of these?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Yep. So and they're named the same way as the CAP Cancer Protocol website. That's all tied together. So thyroid gland resection. Okay. And then I get this message that says the selected worksheet does not have any content. Click the edit button to fire it up. So at this moment is when I'm going to be actually firing up Mtuitive within Cerner. And since I haven't opened it today, there's a 5 to 10 second delay of firing up the first time. It's an embedded software. So here's the window. All right, so now, and I'm assuming you've seen this part from Mike, the actual entry component?
No, this is their first introduction, Dr. Pettis.
Okay, great. So I'll walk through this.
I've seen it once before, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll go through it anyway. So the standard entry is this 2-panel entry, which it's been an interesting thing for me to both talk to other institutions and to see our pathologists go through this idea. You know, it looks very different at first of you've got your data elements listed on the left side, but you're actually entering the data on the right side. So it's this kind of 2-panel. Some pathologists at first, in my experience, thought that was very awkward, didn't like it, but then within a matter of weeks, they love it now because it ends up being a very fast workflow. So I think that's been Mike's experience too from what he told me. At any rate, so on the left side, the required data elements by CAP for accreditation are labeled with this red circle. So those are not going to go away, and most systems, I believe, are set up that you can't verify the report without completing all of those. And it's sort of an internal check that you automatically will be in compliance with accreditation standards if you have those all filled out. So that's a nice a nice feature. Specimen parts, I've actually added this on for Dartmouth because sometimes I like to combine lymph nodes and main specimens into my report, and I list them all here, so I might have them and see, and that's really just to account for things for the surgeons. Sometimes I sign out my entire case as a synoptic as opposed to listing individual parts. Sometimes we do both. That's something that I think is pretty variable, and there's no strict guidance from CAP or from billing folks of how to do that. So that's something I think to determine on your own what to do with that. I'll march through and just populate some things here. So procedure, I'll call this total thyroidectomy. And the way that I'm marching through my list, I'm entering an answer, and you can have the left-sided menu automatically advance every time you click an answer or enter an answer, or you can have it pause and you can click the next one, or what I have it set up that I tab down to the next one. So if I tab through, I'm hitting tab right now, I would march through those data elements. You can customize that, I think, at the user level up here somewhere. There are a few customizations. I prefer the tab personally because I feel like I have a little more control and I'm fast at it. So lymph node sampling. Let's say there was focused lymph nodes, and I can say where this came from. Central compartment node, just the document. So some data elements, of course, have subjective fields where you can type things in. Histologic type, call it papillary thyroid carcinoma. And just to make this fun, I'll say that there's a variant. We'll call it the tall cell. And I have this chance to type additional comments. Sometimes you might have combinations of variants, or you might want to further clarify what you mean by the variant with this new thyroid types, papillary thyroid cancer types, being described, that allows you to get a little more specific if needed, or to qualify your answer. Greatest dimension, I'll call 5 centimeters. I'll just make this 5 by 5 by 5. Tumor laterality, I'll call it left. Unifocal, I'm going to say there is extrathyroidal extension. I'll say it's extensive. Angioinvasion, not identified. Lymphatic invasion, not identified. I don't have to choose perineural invasion. It's not a required element, but if you want to put that in there, you can. And then I'd like to take a moment at this point. I'm halfway through the template, a little over halfway through. And if I want to know what this is going to look like in the report, or to see how these things are being reported, I can preview Synoptic up here. I really like this feature because I don't have to go all the way back to Cerner to look at it. So the text that's going to come across is listed in Synoptic form, and I can see this. As you work through the various templates, you realize that there is some built-in logic, and if you're choosing some features up high in the template, and which render other data elements irrelevant, based on the CAP elements from the paper protocols, some of those might be turned off automatically. So if you choose not applicable for some data elements, it may not go to the report, or unless it's required to be reported by CAP. So those are things that you sort of get used to as you use them. And I, especially early on, I encourage everyone to make sure to preview while you're doing this so you understand what's happening with the report.
I have a question. Can you do the preview again for me, please?
Sure.
So, the ones that are bolded, and then you have the answer to the right of that, those are kind of zigzagging around. Is there a way that you can columnize, the answers so that they're easier to read?
Yes, this is Mike. Yeah, we have some control over the formatting. I can show you that a little bit later, or I can send it. But yeah, we do have some control over that, and we can make it 2 columns.
Yeah, that'll be Dr. Wixom's call to see if we want some, in this format versus, lined up for easier reading.
Sure, I can show you 3 different examples of what we can do.
Okay.
I've seen that a couple of ways, and that's been discussed in the past in the CAP committee as well. And there's some concern about moving things too far over that your eye can cross wires. I think it depends on the report and the way your layout looks in your final report of how to make that decision. But yeah, we have talked about that as well. And I'll show you how this looks back in Cerner when I go back to, so let me just kind of finish up the report here. I'll say margins are uninvolved. I can specify distance, but I don't have to. I'm going to skip those. Number of lymph nodes examined, I'll say I had just one lymph node. Number of lymph nodes involved, I will say that there was a lymph node. Tumor deposit measured, let's say 4 millimeters with no extranodal extension. And descriptors are not applicable in this particular case. See my staging, it looks like my staging I need to do manually for this particular case. So there was, I called it 5 centimeters and extensive extrathyroidal invasion. I think that would be a T3, at least in the 7th edition. I'm not going to belabor that point. Distant Mets, not applicable. Any additional findings, maybe there's some Hashimoto thyroiditis or something like that, I could put that in here. Our institution has added a couple of fields for tumor blocks and normal blocks to pull things, you know, for research or for future testing for genomics or something like that, just to have it all documented. We also document our prior cytology correlation, but those are not CAP elements. And then if I want to put any specific comments, I tend to put my comments in the e-form because I like that they're attached to the database and I can find them easily later in any format. I won't put anything there today. So if I'm happy with that, I guess, let's see, I will, yeah, I'll go ahead and submit this report. And if I want to, if I'm not finished, if I'm waiting for more data, I can still submit. This doesn't verify the case. It just brings the text back to Cerner. For whatever reason, in our implementation for our code level, pressing save in this Cerner Millennium interface is not a good idea, and we sometimes lose data because of it. So I don't know how that will look for you guys, but I would talk to Cerner if you go forward. So we always hit submit. I think there's a code fix, I've been told, but we're a code level behind that fix. That's just a little quirk that Cerner had worked out, but we're not there yet. Anyway, hitting submit saves everything for me, brings it back to this middle ground, and then I have worksheet complete automatically checked, and I'm going to save and close that, and that brings me back to what you're used to and pass that for the sign out, and that the synoptic text is all present within the diagnosis field. I can still add individual parts if I want to put summary diagnoses above or below. That's fine. I can label this as a synoptic. You have a lot of control over that. The grayed out text, which is derived from the e-form, is entirely immutable. You can't do anything to it in this interface, which is really great because it limits anyone from making spacing errors, changing spelling, or trying to morph things into non-standard text. So if you want to change something, you actually have to go back into the synoptic, uncomplete the worksheet. Yes, I do want to uncomplete the worksheet, and then I just go back into edit, and I can make those changes within e-form. But that's the only way I can do that. So that's a nice way to, I like to say, to limit creativity among pathologists and increase standardization. So this is what it looks like. Our reports, once we verify them, actually go across to our clinical Epic, and you can view them in a PDF format in Epic, which is our own interface here. It actually looks really nice from that standpoint. The bolding and the formatting stays with the text. And I think the readability is pretty slick. But that's really what it boils down to. And I don't know how much you've talked to Mike about this, but another interest we had in going this route is that everything that I'm putting into these structured data fields is getting populated into a SQL database, into the Intuitive database. And actually, I have one of our LIS folks here, Jeff, with me in my room, who just started doing queries on our database. So we're finally getting access. We have a year and a half to 2 years of data for some of our specialties, and now we're able to start doing some neat things with that data for specific specialties. So anyway, I guess I'll leave it at that and open it for questions.
So I have a question. This looks pretty good. I'm very encouraged. Maybe question for Mike, or I don't know if you know. So on the line that says lymph node sampling, that's the line where the text wraps to a second line.
Mhm.
and there's an indent in front of compartment
Yeah.
node. Okay, so I don't know if this is true for you guys, but for our version of, well, for us, for that to cross our interface and remain structured like that, there has to be a hard return after central in front of the tab before compartment mode. If you just go to the end of the line and tab over, when it crosses the interface, the spacing is different and it ends up being screwed up. So do you know is that how that's built? Is there a hard return there after central, or is there a way to build it that way?
I'm not
Like
sure
at
exactly.
Position 16?
No, I think I could answer the question. This is Jason.
Oh,
I know exactly the problem you're talking about with Cerner Millennium. So when you're typing things in on a free text, right, if you try to carry it across or to tab, it looks like a disaster when it goes across. And so you're used to doing that hard return. We tested that extensively, and the eForm, it must have a hard return built in, or it must be its own field, because it looks fine going across for us.
Well, you just made my whole day.
Yeah, there are no tabs built into that text.
So the interface that you have, is it like an RTF type of interface, or is it just a straight text, ANSI type interface? Because that makes a difference, what Dr. Wixom was alluding to.
I believe it's an RTF interface. I'm not.
Yeah, see, that's a problem, because our other downstream systems don't support RTF, so we have to send it by way of ANSI, and so therefore we have the issue that Dr. Wixom alluded to, because the lymph node sampling is going to be on, for the sake of argument, OBX10, and then OBX11 needs to be compartment node with the leading spaces in order to have it columnized, into the right below the word focused.
what are your downstream systems?
We have several. We have our HIE. We have our TouchWork, which is our script interface, and we have our outreach portal. So we send it to multiple places, and depending on the way they see the message, they post it based on what we send.
Right. Now, isn't your HIE Millennium?
No,
No.
we have we have Millennium EMR, but we also have an additional HIE for non-sharp physicians to use.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard any complaints about downstream systems, but what would be really great is if you can, in an email, send me your concerns and the different interface, like RTF versus would you say ASCII?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe send it to Michael. Michael can send it to me, and I can get a better answer from my guys on it, because we haven't heard any complaints. And there's something about maybe the way we do it. Like, we use style sheets. I think, what are those? XSS, LXs or something like that, to transmit the text. And we don't get many complaints about downstream systems, but I'd like to get that cleared up for you even more.
Yeah, Joe, I guess if we decide to move forward, it would actually be good to know beforehand what those structured fields are going to look like in Cerner, which I believe is what we're seeing here. They'll probably look like this, which looks fine to me, but then how are they going to look in the other systems, and just make sure that it's not going to cause problems for those. Otherwise, I love this. This is great.
So what I can do is I can actually find a sample diagnosis for from the other downstream systems, and find the corresponding outbound record that Cerner sent to those without any patient information.
Okay. Yeah, that would be good. That would be probably a good place to start for us, and then we can maybe get into a little more detail about how we transmit the data over to Cerner.
Okay.
Okay. It's possible I might even be able to get you a sample output file that you could copy and paste into one of the downstream systems to see if it holds its formatting.
Okay.
But I'll wait to get an email from you or from Michael, and that'll start the dialogue. But I feel like I've been in this situation before, and some of the responses I'll get on my end should make you comfortable.
And then,
Okay, so I need a recipient to send it to, so I don't know that, you know, I have all the information to send it to. So if somebody can, you know, make sure that I have the information, I'll be more than glad to.
Well, my email might be on, my email address could be on the invite that was forwarded to you.
On the invite? Okay, that's fine then. I'm good.
Mike Valentine, yep.
Okay.
So Mike,
Well, I have yours, yeah.
I wonder if Jesse or Martin from Cerner could answer that really quickly, since they built this.
Yeah, I might have to recruit them to answer it as well, but we can start here on my end and see, and we might have to involve the Cerner folks too for even a more complete answer, how they process it on their end.
And then I think you guys already answered this. It sounds like you can, but besides the caps and optics that that come and I assume are automatically updated, you can build your own structured reports templates.
So
Is that correct?
It is correct. There's the tool that we use to build and update the checklists. It's called the Agile Author, and that is available for license if you wanted to build your own. Actually, it's funny because Dr. Pettis is coming down here in a couple of weeks to be trained on that. But that is available for license, and you could build your own structured data. What do you have in mind when you talk about structured data?
Well,
reports?
you know, I don't know that maybe we wouldn't need a license if we have like 4 or 5 other templates that we use that right now pathologists are just kind of filling out on paper and submitting to transcription, and they're creating it. But it's the exact same, like, you know, for heart biopsies or liver biopsies for chronic hepatitis, and they're basically just selecting their choices. So it would be great if there's probably 4 or 5 that we have, either if we could build them or if it's an option to have them built. That would be really great.
I'd say the latter. If you send me an example or you send me the actual checklists, I can tell you what it would take to build them. Usually we charge $200 an hour, but you know, let us take a look at them and maybe we can package that up with the current quote you guys have.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably the best way. Yeah, until we see them, we don't know the amount of work involved. But I mean, I think that would be something that we'd be interested in doing. Sure.
So, is this Mike that's talking?
I'm sorry?
I was saying that's exactly why we're interested is the medical biopsies, some of those medical biopsies that CAP doesn't issue anything for.
So should Dr. Wixon send them to you, Mike, and then you'll disseminate Mike Valentine, correct?
Please, yes, and
Okay.
I'll get him over to Carrie, who is our expert over on this end. Dr. Pettis has worked with her very closely too. She's awesome. And she'll take a look and tell me, you know, what's involved. Hey, it'll take me 10 minutes to do these. Let's just do them. Or it might take her several hours, which then we'd have to come back to you and say, you know, it's going to take several hours. Might have to charge you a little bit, but let's just see them first before we make that decision.
Sure. I can. I'll scan those and email those to you today.
Great. That's wonderful. Thanks. Well, if there are any questions, it's 12:30 on the dot, or 9:30 your time on the dot. Is there anything else?
Is there a tumor registry box clickable as part of this, where you can flag a case for the tumor registry?
Well, you know, you really wouldn't have to. We could build an interface to your tumor registry. In fact, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but we were the first vendor to submit electronic data to the California Cancer Registry. And I didn't want to bring this up right now. I will, though. I mean, there is some funding available from the California Department of Public Health to build an interface to the California Cancer Registry. We did it with the St. Joe's organization. We're talking with Adventist Health about it now. And I think there's still like $40,000 available if that's something you guys wanted to pursue. But I just didn't want it to, you know, derail us for this immediate project of getting you to capture the structured data first, because that structured data is always going to be there. We can always send it to the registry at a later time. But you know, these are the only the cases you're going to be using eForm for would be eligible to send to Cancer Registry anyway. So you wouldn't need a box to flag it, because it's only a cancer case is going to be you're not only going to invoke eForm for a cancer case. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, Dr. Wixom, the Cancer Center software at this time does not support a true interface. The information that they obtain is through a file transfer at each day that was written by one of our people here. And so what they do is they extract information using that code that was created, the summary code, and then a file is created every morning and it's uploaded to their system. So it doesn't support a real-time interface at this time.
Well, that's fine. I think the solution that we've got built is working great. So I was just curious.
But yeah, I think you may want to consider, not right now, but that the California Cancer Registry project would be a good one. I think it's going to be mandated by 2019, January 2019, that all hospitals report electronically to the CCR. So, it's something maybe to keep an eye on. But you'll be in a great position to do that, so you shouldn't have to worry too much. Like if you use eForm, you're going to be set up perfectly for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. I think I got all my questions answered.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Dr. Pettis, very much for taking time out of your day for this. And
yes, thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Everybody enjoy your day.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.